2:18 right now. Thanks so much for being here with us in our 2 o'clock hour of Chicago Live. Plenty to get to in this hour that we're working on. We want to have a conversation, hopefully, about norovirus. Apparently, it's on the increase in Illinois. And before you end up sick, we want to find out what we should be looking for, what should we be doing differently as we have more people who are gathering together. We're also hoping to have more of a conversation about what's happening outside with this weather as it is changing over the next several hours and expected to kind of bring some issues to our area, especially for the evening commute. So we'll try to bring in one of our meteorologists for that. If Senator Duckworth speaks in our nation's capital during this hour, we'll try to go and listen in. This should be about ICE, and a hearing should be taking place. If she speaks up, if she walks up to the mic, we'll try to get there. But right now, we've had several conversations about the Cook County property taxes. When the new bills came out and people were shocked, they were delayed, but when they finally got them, they were shocked at what they saw. We spoke with the Cook County treasurer first about it. We brought in someone from the assessor's office next. And now we have Commissioner George Cardenas, the chair of the Cook County Board of Review. Looking forward to this conversation as you all have reopened property tax appeals in the process here as people are still processing what they have seen in their mail. So thank you so much for your time. Okay, so while we wait to try to get him back on the line here, just so you know, Chicagoans have through December 12th to appeal your latest assessment. This is a big moment, as so many people who have had massive spikes in your bill, in this latest bill. And when we were speaking with both the assessor's office and also the treasurer's office, they said, appeal it. Now, when that appeal, if it goes through, when that would actually take effect, whether it's retroactive or whether it goes forward, that's one of the things we want to talk about with the Cook County Board of Review, and also just how much of a difference it can make for people. That's one of the things that we're looking for there. But again, this appeals process now is for 24 townships, and you have until December 12th. So the time is ticking. Let's go ahead and bring in Commissioner George Cardenas to talk more about it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for the invite, and thanks for letting people know how important it is to appeal their assessments.
Yeah. When we say important, just how much of a difference could it make for people?
Well, last year, over 50% of residential homeowners who appeal got some type of reduction. So it is very important. It sets the baseline.
Okay, so having some issues with our connection there, but I'm just seeing here that the overall median residential tax bill in Chicago this year rose. And this is just a median, everybody, 16.7% to $4,457. The largest percentage increase in the city in 30 years. And that is according to a report published last month by Cook County Treasurer Maria Pappas. Again, we had her here on the show. Commissioner Cardenas, are you there now? Okay, it still looks like it's frozen here. So one of the issues that we saw was kind of a shift in the tax burden from downtown and the buildings, many of them that are vacant downtown, to homeowners in some areas. That it was just a little mind-boggling as to why people were having such a big difference in their bill for places like North Lawndale or for Garfield Park, places like that, even South suburban areas that were seeing massive spikes here. A 133% spike there for West Garfield Park. Increased by nearly $2,000. Commissioner, are you with us now?
Yes, I sorry, I had to join via my cell phone because I am frozen for some reason in my desktop. Maybe it comes back up again. But you're right; those over assessments are all over the place. There's no justification. I think it's a system a problem, to be honest with you. And that's something that the assessor has to go back and look at his model to see what really is going on, because there's no rhyme or reason, and you can't just blame it on one thing, and you can't just blame it on the board of review for doing his job and statutory responsibilities.
Explain, since you mentioned it, the job of the Board of Review.
Well, the board of review is a quasi-judicial body that that is supposed to oversee the work of the assessor, if you will. And so when the assessor finishes with his assessment process, then it shifts over to the board of review, and we allow people to then, over a time window, allow people to then come to the board of review and compare between their appeal with the assessor and the board of review. We follow standard guidelines by AWAO, which is a international recognized organization that oversees the assessment process. We have our standards, we have our rules of evidence, and all of that goes into effect. So this is known to many people, whether you're an expert or not. Our work is open, transparent. Anybody can FOIA it. Anybody can FOIA the notes in terms of how we came to a decision on those appeals. And so this is the place where people come. The board review is people get a fair shake at a potential assessment, correction of an assessment, because that's what we do. We correct assessments, over assessments.
So one of the things that Treasurer Pappas brought up was the fact that a lot of people don't read over the bills well enough to know that they have an issue to begin with, and then how to actually go about addressing it. Why don't you walk through people's steps if they get that bill, what they need to do, or for those who have already gotten their bills and kind of had that moment of shock, what they need to do?
Well, I mean, it's good to understand the bill, right? I mean, it's good to understand, to read what the hell's going in there. And I should say, what's in there. And all the taxing bodies, the schools, the park district, the water reclamation, all of these entities that are taxing you should know exactly what's going on and compare year to year exactly what the increase was, right? Because the public schools have their own way of doing things, and they increase the levy every year to keep up with their expenses. And a lot of people don't know that, but their property taxes are going to be increasing by whatever, $50, $60, just by the fact that they already increased the levy on their end to try to recoup and try to cover some of those expenses. They're baked in. That's one. The park district is the same thing. They'll do the same process. They have a board, and they'll decide to raise their property tax levy. And the city does the same thing, except it is more, more focused. I would say more people focused on the city at this point, so they know that anything that the city does, everybody's going to know about it. So property taxes have been on the table, and they'll be taken off the table because it's a hot button issue, and it takes all of 50 members or ward aldermen to vote on that, which is more contentious than, let's say, a board like a couple of the schools or the park district, where they can just don't have to face the voters like aldermen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the fact that when the city does something, everyone knows, but everyone was pretty taken aback by that issue of a shifting tax burden.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I think that there's a lot of misinformation in terms of how that works. Businesses, they pay 25% of the assessed value, and homeowners pay 10%. When you have exemptions as well, sometimes they'll pay somewhat less than that, the 10%. So when you talk about shifting of the burden, if you have one side of the coin not doing well, or whatever, for whatever reason, something's happening there in the commercial corridors, it's going to impact value. And this is why the board review focuses in on, when we look at appeals, we handle not just residential appeals, but we also handle commercial appeals. And we treat everybody the same way. It's just about fairness. So when you provide evidence to the board of review on your particular case, on your particular appeal, we're going to look at that evidence to see what's going on with that property. So that maybe a vacancy it's high in that property, maybe something's going on with that property that the value has shifted, and therefore a new analysis takes place. Our methodology is simple. We do load what's called cap rate and expenses, and all the things that a business would need to do to run a business are in there, are sort of baked in that decision. And so that's really what it comes down to. There's no secrets or anything. If a particular business is struggling, like the downtown has been for the past few years because of COVID and post-COVID, a lot of properties were affected by that, and they're not fully recovered. And that's really a byproduct of just what's happening, not just citywide, but maybe county and statewide.
Yeah, I mean, when you say everyone is treated the same, and I'm not saying that everyone's not, but people make the argument that like a business would have a lawyer versus an everyday citizen who's trying to appeal things. If someone is successful in their appeal, what are some of the things that say, oh, this needs to be redone or revisited?
Well, let me first address the issue of attorneys. By law, if you are an LLC, you will need to be represented by an attorney. That's the law.
Right.
And that was done in Springfield. If you're an individual homeowner, or let's say you're your own commercial property, but you own it, it's in your name, you can file without having an attorney. It's called pro se. So you'll have those nuances of why we do it. From a business standpoint, you do it because you want it. You mentioned you want it to be done right, and you want it to be transparent, and you don't want somebody making decisions based on whatever relationships are out there. You want a professional to be handling something complicated.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really what.
Absolutely. I mean, I just made the point of, obviously an attorney would know more than most of us. If that is their practice, that is their thing. They would know more than most of us how to be effective in, getting an appeal across. So if it's just everyday citizen who's coming before you, what are the things that you look at to say, oh, yeah, we should redo this?
Look, if you're an individual, I think it's just a matter of you applying yourself, filling out the form, and if you want to do your own little digging about, what's going on in your particular block, in your particular neighborhood, you can do that and look what your neighbor is paying and do what's called comps, right? Comparables. And you can definitely take those and provide those as evidence to say, look, my neighbor, same square footage, identical in classification and everything else, yet I'm paying more than my neighbor for whatever reason. And those are valid reasons as to why you should provide evidence so that we can take a look at to see why that is, right? I mean, it's an imperfect system. This is why it takes all of us to put in there our information to make sure that we're getting correct. There's misclassifications, there's omitted properties that also the assessor missed last year. Hundreds of millions of dollars of properties that were not paying property taxes. There's land values that sometimes have been off. There's errors that happen in a system as complicated as ours, and we're trying to correct that. But for folks to feel confident, they need to fill the form, they need to ask questions, they need to provide evidence if they have any, and they need to follow up with the board of review or whoever they were designated to, for a hearing, if that's the case, or an email to see, hey, what happened to my appeal? Can you provide some analysis to what's going on?
Yeah, and then let me ask you this: if they are successful in their appeal, is it retroactive or does the help move forward?
There's a letter. So there's a letter that goes out to them. If it is successful, they'll get a letter from the board review saying, this is the outcome of your appeal. When we finish our work, our work once it's finished is then sent to the assessor to finally wrap it up. Right, that is the final value. Our decisions are final when it comes to assessments, and so if we end up reducing the assessed value of their property, it'll be reflected on their next bill.
Okay. All right. Thank you
So
so much.
for 2024, there's nothing you can do about 2024.
Correct.
For 2025, that's what you're appealing. You're appealing the assessed value of that year, and there with that you have a shot of getting a reduction.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your help. I know a lot of people just have a lot of questions, and hopefully they will follow up with the Board of Review and hopefully be successful.
Yes, and I think what needs to take the takeaway is this. The takeaway is please get acclimated with your property tax bill, and please start doing some due diligence and find out what is your due process to appeal on exemptions. Are you getting the proper exemptions? Homeowner exemption, and if you're of age, are you getting your senior exemption? Are you getting your senior freeze? All that matters. If you have some, if you're disabilities, for example, there's another opportunity for you to get a lower property tax bill. If you're a veteran, you can also get a reduction on your assessments if you're a veteran as well. So there's many things that are out there for those folks that they may apply. You gotta read the fine print, and you gotta really stay on top of your financial matters.
Absolutely important to know. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
All right. You take care. Happy holidays to you.